we will be talking about FPGA. Now, first thing which is related to your FPGA, why we need FPGA. Reason for that is it is always not possible or feasible to get IC being fabricated. We try to get in hand information about what we are going to design and how it is going to behave as far as delays, throughput, and other things are being related. So, and for that, we need some handy thing in our lab. So that is FPGA. So what's inside FPGA? We have this from the definition field programmable gate arrays. That means gate arrays are there and we program them with some electric field according to our requirements. So that is just the basic definition of FPGA. Although it's not feasible to cover FPGA just in 15-20 minutes, but I am just going to give you the idea what FPGA is and how this is different from ASIC. So here you can see the definition of FPGA. So it can be defined as a two-dimensional array of logic block and flip-flops with electrical programmable interconnections between the logic blocks. So you have your logic blocks and they need to be configured electrically. So that's important. Okay. So what's inside this block? So there are number of blocks are there. So each logic block is capable of implementing combination and sequential logic of different complexity. So each logic block is capable of implementing combination. So you have gates, you have some adder, subtractor, filters, and also you have some sequential logic as far as flip-flops and counters are being there, but their complexity is different. So that depends upon what kind of FPGA you're actually using. So logic block of an FPGA can be as simple as 2-input NAND gate, and it can be as complex as functional units such as ALU and memory units. So it depends upon what you're actually going to use and what kind of FPGA you're actually having with you. So next, related to FPGA is synthesis process. So in this, some of the portion will remain as ASIC is there, but the later on things become different. So we don't have mapping and all in this. Similarly, as we are doing in your ASIC, here mapping and other things are totally different. So here you are having a logic and then logic are to be mapped to your physical circuits on FPGA. So you have already lookup tables. So lookup tables are preempted truth tables in which you have information about inputs and your prospective outputs. And also some memories are there where you are actually going to store them. You are going to have some shift registers where you store the data and multipliers where you are going to multiply the things which you are going to use. So the units which we are using in FPGA are more complex than the gates in ASICs. So that's why we are actually using FPGA. As far as flow of FPGA is being concerned, some of the units are quite similar to your ASIC. So here you can see this is not this is FPGA design flow. This is FPGA design flow. So some of the units are quite similar to ASIC design flow. So here you are having algorithm. So algorithm is same, that behavioral description of a design, that how your design is going to behave. Then HDL design entry and functional simulation you will do. But after then things becomes little bit different. So you will have logic synthesis. So in logic synthesis, you will have logic simulation and optimization similar to your ASIC, but now we don't have gate level netlist being generated. Here we will have technology netlist. So the optimized logic synthesis is now mapped to some technology, directly to the technology. So we have some information about gates which are using, and now gates will be mapped to some FPGA technology. It can be 45 nanometer or whatever FPGA are readily available to you. Now, after that, what you will do, you will have post synthesis simulation. That means whatever you are desiring here, you are getting here or not. If not, you will do the changes till you get this and this in confirmation with each other. If not, then you should not proceed ahead. After that, you will map place and route. That means you arrange the blocks and place the cells on the chip with connections. So this little bit different. And after that, there is very important thing that is called bit stream. So what you are going to do in bit stream, the synthesized verified timing constraints netlist is converted into bit streams to transform onto chip. So here, whatever you place out and this information is being converted into some file, and then you go for timing simulation. Then last step is physical layout. So here layout is not there. What you will do? You will go for programming FPGA by downloading bitstream to the target device. So you do the entire thing on the computer, you connect the FPGA and then transfer the bit stream onto the FPGA. So the functionality which you are actually watching on the computer using some simulator, now that is readily available on the hardware. Now some of you might be asking that if everything is possible in FPGA, why we are not using FPGA and we are actually using ASIC? The reason for that is the performance on FPGA on the lower side as compared to your ASIC, and also cost per unit is quite high when we talk about FPGA. So that's why we do not use FPGA. As far as FPGA software is being concerned, we use Mentor Graphics, we use Cadence, we use Xilinx software, we use Synopsys. So these are the things we actually going to use. So that's all as far as FPGA design is being concerned. And if you have any doubt, you are free to discuss with me. Otherwise, today's class is over.